Welcome to Healing at Home with Ozone. Now, why would you want to use ozone? I guess the better question is, why not? Because there are over 3,000 medical references, papers, studies, research studies in the German literature alone, plus all of Switzerland, Austria, Denmark, Italy, all of the Romanian, Bulgarian countries all use ozone as a treatment, as a standard treatment, with over 5 years of applications to humans and millions of applications. There is actually a study that shows 5.5 million applications with a 0.08 risk tolerance of any kind of side effects and dangers, and they were all punctured veins with needles or stuff like that, which has nothing to do with the ozone itself. So the International Ozone Association reports over 7,000 MDs in Europe using ozone safely for over 40 years. Yet, in the past 20 years, the FDA has prevented human testing because they think ozone is not safe. Well, it's pretty simple. One oxygen bottle, one of these little bottles here, costs you about $40. And that lasts easily for 1,000 treatments. There is no money in it for the pharmaceuticals, and that's why they try to prevent those little ozone generators and treatments to become public. That's why I would like to share with you the concept of ozone and how you can do it at home safely. Now, I'm not going to show you how to set needles and how to do the big autohemotherapy. I show you only treatments which are safe and which work in the same way. Now, why would you use ozone? Very simple. Because we want to kill all those pathogens, all those virus which no antibiotic works for. So you need to have ozone to kill them off. Latent viral infections that sit in your knee. There is plenty of research study from Italy now showing that when you do treatments in joints, you kill off the latent viral loads, and all of a sudden arthritis and all those degenerative joint diseases go away. It's very effective with virus, it's very effective with all bacteria and fungi and mold, and it can be used for all infectious diseases like Lyme's disease, ticks, tick bites, or hepatitis C or STDs very, very effectively. Now, before we go into talking about cures, I like that word, made the movie Cancer is Curable. So I slipped into that jargon, but I want to very, very clearly say I don't endorse any cures. Cure means we do something and that gets rid of the disease. No, it gets rid of the cause of disease. And in case of ozone, it has a very powerful effect, but it's not a cure for cancer. There is plenty of rumors, SCAT, frankincense, GCMAF, all of that cures cancer, dandelion cures cancer, and that's all rubbish. It will never work and it will never have an effect if we don't understand what the basics of those remedies are. Now, what are the basics of ozone? Very, very simple. Number one, it boosts your immune system. All your white blood cells, and let me just go to that slide because then I say nothing wrong. All of your white blood cells, and you can see here one white blood cell chasing a bacteria. Now, when they do, they need 100 times increased oxygen requirement when faced with invaders. And that's a floating cancer stem cell. That can be a cancer cell, that can be a pathogens, that can be any of those bacteria. As soon as they need to catch it, just think about it, I need to catch that invader. They need 100 times more oxygen to be able to do that. Now, that's what you get when you put oxygen, which is transformed into a very active form, ozone, into the body. You get an extreme uptake of oxygen, and that will help your immune system to deal with invaders a lot more aggressively. Now, the second factor is that it stimulates your immune system to respond faster and more aggressively, but it also helps, and this is number two, it helps your red blood cells to become super red blood cells. Now think about the red blood cells travels through your body and carries the oxygen that it takes up in the lungs throughout the body into the tissue and releases into the tissue. Now, a lot of those red blood cells hold on to the oxygen, don't let go. As soon as you have regular treatment, let's say for 1 month with ozone, all of a sudden you produce super red blood cells which take up and release oxygen a lot faster into the tissue. So number 2 factor is higher availability of oxygen, and number 1 is higher availability for your immune system to get kick-started. Now look at this little picture here, and I really like my policemen. If you have an immune system, and we see that very often when we do a finger prick, dark field microscope, and then you have a sluggish immune system. Nothing moves, nothing is active. Now you induce oxygen, ozone into the system, and all of a sudden your white blood cells start to get fully active. They move, they travel around, and that's what you get. So it's an activation of your immune system, and it's an oxygen supply to your immune system, plus it helps to kill off the invaders. And it does that very simple, if I find the right slide, by helping your immune system to build. It's an oxidative treatment, so it creates SOD, superoxidase dismutase and catalase, and it produces the glutathione peroxidase. And glutathione is your master antioxidant. It's the main element that helps to deal with invaders and with free radicals. So it also produces hydrogen peroxide, which is the killing agent of the immune system. Dr. Gordon said that very nice in our movie, that when we have enough oxygen together with vitamin C, we produce hydrogen peroxide, which helps all your immune system to fight off any kind of cancer. And that's why it's so important. Now let's look at some of the indications, because a lot of people say, when do I use it? What do I use it for? Well, immune system is always important. You always use it to boost your immune system and to get rid of any kind of infection. We'll talk about that in a moment. Arterial circulation, cold hands, cold feet, not fully activated or supplied organs in your system. So it activates arterial circulatory problems. One of the main treatments that it's used for in Europe is, and let me just get all this away, is bagging, external bagging. You can put your foot in here, your arm in here, you fill in ozone, blow up the bag, and then the excess goes into our destruct unit. And that would be used to kill off external bacteria, fungi, mold, wounds that don't heal. Now we often have that when we have burning, from radiation burns, very important, that's when it works. Chronic wounds, diabetic gangrene when you have open legs, burn wounds, post-radiation, infected wounds. It's used standard, common in all hospice situation or old folks' homes as for bed sores. When people lay long in bed and it opens up, they spray ozone water, make compresses with ozone, ozone cream, and do all the treatments with the bag to get patients fired up, their immune system. Oxygen brings them back to life. It's also good for intestinal pathology. If you have any kind of bacteria, dysbiosis, you have gut inflammation, you have Crohn's disease, all of that can be treated with ozone by just drinking ozonated water. And we'll show you in the following videos how to just hang this little bubble stone into a long glass and create ozone water in 20 minutes that you can drink, that you can use for cleaning, that you can use to spray on wounds, to disinfect. Very powerful, very cheap, very easy to use, and completely harmless, not dangerous. Infections, hepatitis C, herpes, Lyme's disease, STDs. Now we all know that Lyme's disease is a bacterial disease. Tick bite, bacteria, they start to replicate. Your immune system is not capable to deal with them, so they grow faster than your immune system can kill them. And then they start to affect your muscles, they start to affect your nervous system, they go everywhere. In an advanced stage, you chitter, you have pain, you have aches and brain fog because of the toxic overload from those bacteria. Now, what can you do? We know oxygen is one of the powerful treatments, but when you bring in regularly ozone into your system, you slowly activate your immune system more and more. You provide more oxygen to your system to deal with those invaders. So it's not a one hit, one treatment and it's all gone. It's a steady build up until you feel like, you know, King Kong and can conquer every disease. Dr. Robert Rowan went to South Africa. He went to deal with Ebola. It's used for many STDs when you had sexually transmitted diseases. It's phenomenal for herpes. It's a standard treatment in other countries. Just in yours, it might not be. So geriatric conditions for general revitalization, age-related degeneration. We know when you get older, you have latent infections, you have bacterial overgrowth, you might have dental problems, you might have that. Now, all of those bacteria, as you can see again, you see that little red pile underneath? Well, they poo, they create toxic waste. And that causes brain fog, that causes aches and pains and joint pains and all sorts of issues, age-related. Now, ozone will bring in so much oxygen into your system that you start feeling great again. And that's why it's very often used in many different forms for geriatric conditions. Rheumatism, arthritis, they inject it directly into the joints. Conscious doctors, dentists would use it to disinfect when they pull a tooth, the bone underneath, that there is no bacteria load, and cancer-related treatments. Now, I've seen several clinics in Germany where doctors actually pull up ozone into their needle and then they inject, they call it quaddle. They use little air bubbles around the tumor, which they inject several times around the tumor and set little pockets of ozone so that your immune system has it available for their oxygen burst. They need it to deal with cancer. They need it to deal with pathogens. So the more you have available in pure form, the faster the healing will happen. They even inject it directly into the tumor in order to kill it from the inside out. Because we know cancer, fungus, you know, there is a lot of pathogenic load within the tumor, and that's what can be dealt with very easily. So as a cancer-related treatment, it's also ongoing, keeping your immune system strong. High oxygen saturation of your blood will prevent angiogenesis, you know, the growth of new blood vessels to your tumor. It also prevents metastasizing and building new tumors in other areas. So it's absolutely mandatory and it's used in those clinics, whereas you might miss out, and that's what we don't want. Now, the main difference, and there is research from Cuba, shows that rectal insufflation works just as well as the major autohemotherapy. Now, there is the major and minor autohemotherapy, and we have videos about them in our training so you can see what they do. But if you think about, rectal insufflation will do the same, just slower. But no needles, no traveling to the doctor, no back and forth. You can do it in the convenience at home. You can turn on this device, screw on your little, here we got it, the catheter is on. You screw on this, turn on the device, turn on your bottle, fill with ozone, and then you do an ozone treatment. It's a 5-minute treatment, let's say 10 minutes, and then you hold tight, and that's it. Very convenient, very super, and you don't want to miss out. These are treatments which are mandatory to keep your immune system active. We have these devices since 15 years at home. My wife is a naturopath educated in Germany, so ozone was part of our life the whole time, and it's something that I think you should not miss out on. So difference is time and availability. Now, I'm not saying you should avoid doctors that use O3, only those who don't. Doctors are service providers, and if your doctor can't provide you with ozone treatment, regular ozone treatment, well, then do it yourself or find a doctor who does it. If you have a very high Lyme infestation, like your body is riddled with Lyme's disease, it might help really to combine it with high-dose vitamin C, to combine it with glutathione, to combine it with artemisia, with hypothermia, and with ozone. But if you combine all that, you boost your immune system to superpower and you start dealing and killing off all those pathogens until the balance tips. You realize that the system is always the same. Pathogens come into your body. It's warm, it's moist, it's very nutritious, so they start to replicate and multiply, and your immune system, if it's not up to the job, will slowly be overwhelmed. And then the disease spreads throughout the body. Now what we do is we kill off a part of them by powering up our immune system. So the more we do and the longer we do and the more regular we do, all of a sudden our immune system can deal with those pathogens, can reduce the load, has enough availability and oxygenation to have those bursts, and you will get back on track. And that's a slow motion cure, but if it works, well, why not? And it's, as I said, one of the most affordable treatments of all. So jump right into it and watch all our following videos where we talk about the danger of ozone, which there is hardly any, but I'll show you anyway. And then all the different treatments on how you can do that safely and sound at home. And if you do something quite intense or you have some kind of outgrowth or big tumor that you need to treat, talk to your doctor. Don't just do it on your own and go in the risk. Work with your doctor, work with your healthcare provider. We only show you what we do and what thousands of patients around the world do, but we're not giving you medical advice. I hope that's clear. We just need to stay on the safe side. All right? Boost your immune system and stay healthy.